Oh, hey, girlfriends. Welcome to the Shameless Era Podcast. I'm Lynsey Dalen.
I'm Justine Eno.
And we have such a treat for you on today's episode. We have the two powerhouses from 48th Media Co., Emma Hodgson and Meghan Hindle here. And I have wanted to have them on the podcast since we started this thing, and we finally found to lock them down. So Emma and Meghan, welcome to the Shameless Era.
Thank you. We're so excited to be here.
Oh, we're just so pumped to dive into a huge conversation with you because thankfully we know you both personally. We worked on the Shameless Ambition conference and brand together. Listener, Emma is my 18-year-old ride or die bestie. We even have the matching tattoos to prove it. So we might share a few shenanigans and stories on this episode, but I mean, we'll use our best discretion here. So Emma and Meghan, you two started your company at the height of a very chaotic time in the world, and I would love for you to share the story about how 48th Media Co. came to be.
I would probably start with saying that I was very fortunate to meet Emma in corporate marketing space when I moved to Calgary in 2014, so quite some time ago. I was hired as a graphic designer on a marketing team, and she worked in an office nearby me, social, digital, and we got together very quickly, just mirroring skill sets that complemented each other. We were coworkers first, so we were able to create this foundation of trust that sort of just started bleeding into conversations that were, what's next for us?
Yeah, and then the global pandemic hit, and simultaneously, Meghan and I both lost our corporate jobs. So everything basically just blew up in our face. And what better time to start a company than when there's nothing else to lose? So essentially, that's what we did. We had absolutely nothing else to lose. We had a foundation of trust. We had skill sets that really complemented each other. So we basically just said, fuck it, and started a company.
Do you guys feel like your working relationship definitely started before the friendship? The friendship came way later on.
100%.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it was actually something that I value today in our business so greatly. I would suggest that before Emma and I truly became friends, we were great at working together. And that's what made it so easy to decide to take the leap and start 48 and create what we've created today.
Well, I remember, Emma, when you called and the whole world was up in flames and you were like, girlfriend, I guess I'm going to do a lot of camping this summer because I got no job. And you mentioned that you and Meghan had this idea even before the pandemic that you girls had talked about working together. And so when you were designing your company and your business, what products and services did you decide you wanted to offer together?
That's a really great question. We actually came out of the gates with what we felt was going to be this elaborate service offering, and we learned pretty quickly that that was too much. But essentially, we offer digital marketing products, graphic design, web design, custom web design, social media, Google Ads, paid media. And initially we thought, let's just bring all these cool skill sets that we had in corporate marketing to the table at 48, but there's only two of us. And so we really had to refine that quickly. But these are just the lessons you learn in business. That was one we learned really quickly and early on. And it was sort of to trim that fat and to just clearly focus on a few key services. And so we primarily focus on, brand, logo, web, graphic design, social media, and paid media.
Absolutely. I think that as Emma mentioned, doing it all very quickly was clear that it was too much. And so something that we had to do was be real with ourselves and real with our clients, truly just sort of decide where our strengths lied. For us today, the most important part is being approachable and honest. So if we're not those two things, it's not something we're going to offer.
I love that.
I do too.
Yeah, especially in business, right? There's nothing worse than working with another company or a company that just beats around the bush, but won't give you the right answer or the true answer. So that's awesome. So you mentioned the challenge of almost needing to find the quality over quantity of what you offer, right? Of trimming the fat, as Emma said. What were some other big roadblocks you guys faced? Obviously, the pandemic.
I moved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were a lot of moving parts.
There were a lot of moving parts, yeah.
The pandemic was actually something that was truly a blessing for both Emma and I. It was a time in the world where so many businesses, for their first time ever, needed to be online. And so we were the perfect storm. We were online helping people show up, make a presence, show themselves, social media, Google business profiles, like whatever it was. We had the skill sets and the expertise to make sure that people were there at the right time when folks were looking. And so truly was sort of supportive in this role and has what led to what is our virtual marketing agency today.
Yeah, and luckily at the time, virtual meetings became just the norm. And so because my family had moved to Vancouver and Meghan was in Calgary, we got really good very quickly at meeting virtually. Meghan and I spent hours on FaceTime together, launching this company, client meetings, brainstorming, you name it. We got really strong at working virtually and collectively with our clients in that capacity. And so it just, like Meghan said, was kind of the perfect storm.
When I think back about sort of just jumping in and starting, especially when there was not personal touch points, we were not meeting up all of the time. It's funny, like I had a skill set that I knew very well and was really, really comfortable with, but no one was teaching me all of the other sides of owning a business or running a business or what that looks like. And it's funny because very quickly you're wearing a lot of different hats and it's up to you to succeed at that rate. In our case, it's up to us to succeed at that rate. And so there was a lot of learning that came along with it. And not necessarily that they were roadblocks, but they were hurdles we had to jump over. And, I feel better now, 4 years into running a business that we have learned as much as we had. We've grown so much in the last 4 years.
I truly feel like you learn more doing the business and running the business than you ever would taking a business degree.
Oh,
like,
for sure.
Yeah, I took a business degree.
Yeah, me too. And I'm like, yeah, I don't use any of that stuff. Like, no, it's like the real boots on the ground, the mess ups, the lessons, the like, oh, I didn't ever think about those things that you just have to learn on the fly. And
You literally just have to figure it out. Yeah. And that's exactly what you two have done in the last 4 years. And I've had such a front row seat to your business journey. I've shared several conversations with both of you over the years, just talking about ambitions, goals and dreams and what we want to do with our future. And 48th came out of the gate just swinging.
And I love the name.
48th Media.
Like, it's a great
name. Oh yeah.
It's
a good story too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, share the story of where that one comes from.
Comes from a really uninspirational brown box. I kid. Emma and I were lucky in our early careers to share office space with each other. There was a lot of banter. There was a lot of dreaming. We were very fortunate in our little brown box to have 2 windows facing west. So at the end of long, tiring workdays, we got to watch the sunset on 48th Ave, and we were just dreaming of our exit. And so naturally, 48th felt right.
So cool.
And now you have big, beautiful windows in your work from home offices.
Yes.
Watch the
I know, I even got a sliding glass door. What a dream.
You two have clearly taken a lot of risks and bet on yourselves and taken a lot of chances. And I can't imagine that you always knew what the next right step was. And, it's being an entrepreneur is terrifying on the best of days, but what are some of the things that you've come up against in your entrepreneurial journey that were just scary as fuck?
Yeah, me, I'm like, who wants to start on this one? We'd previously sort of discussed maybe Meghan would launch first so that we weren't like consistently talking over each other. This is a bold question. There's been quite so many different. It's like, where do you start? To be honest with you, I have an experience more recently that I can share. Meg, do you have one? Do you have one of mine? I have the collaboration that didn't work story this year that I think is fairly strong.
I love that. For me personally, and I value so much of this lesson coming from Emma, but confrontation is still and some of the hardest things I have to do in business. Saying the hard thing, recognizing that some of the projects or clients are not right for us. What's meant to be will be, but sometimes you really have to face the hard things front on and just address the elephant in the room. Having the hard conversations sooner than later, it just makes moving forward that much more possible, a lot more easy. Emma is so good at confrontation, even to me. She'll be like, what's wrong? What's going on? Something's not right. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to say my feelings now. Oh my gosh. But it has honestly taught me to just fucking do it, because there's nothing better than getting it out of the way and having those hard conversations. And it's something that I practice daily in my personal relationships, in my work relationships, and I honestly couldn't do it without her support. And so for me, it still is a scary thing every day, trying to sort of confront some of those conversations, because I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't want to hurt someone's feelings, but ultimately it's for our best interest. It's so our business can move forward. And so for me, it's sort of one of those things where I'm like, grin and bear it.
Great job.
Yeah.
This year we're taking a lot of financial risks this year. Meghan, our partnership has grown to a place where we have this. We started on a foundation of trust, and now we really operate simultaneously. We hover up here together. We can finish each other's sentences. So this year we've taken a few larger financial risks. We've brought on a few team members. We're investing in some different outside businesses outside of 48th. We're going to kick off a merch line that has absolutely nothing to do with 48th, but was inspired from working from home. And so there's a lot of moving parts happening in our world at the moment. And so I would say financial risk is a space we're living in. But there's a story that I want to share, because it's something that really resonated with me. It was a big lesson that I learned this past year. Meghan and I previously met in the corporate space, and along that corporate space came quite a few different professional collaborations, previous coworkers, etc., friendships, all that jazz. We knew a lot of people. So when we launched 48th, and at the time of the pandemic, it worked out well because there was quite a few people that had kind of scattered into new companies, and those people came back to us knowing and trusting our skill sets. We had someone come back to us that we had previously worked with this past year. And unfortunately, we had really just recognized early on that we had moved in different directions. Our values were no longer the same. And despite our best efforts, the best decision was to part ways. And that was incredibly difficult because we are quite connected in the professional world. I was scared. We were scared about what that would do to our company, how that would feel. Would that feel icky in the community, and kind of what that would do to our general reputation? But it was the right decision for us. We trusted our gut. We knew that this just wasn't going to work. And so we made the decision calmly and collectively, kindly, to part ways. And it ended up working out totally fine, but it was definitely a little scary to sort of consider what that was going to do to us in the future. There was a lot of anxiety on my end, considering how that might land in the community, but it ended up being totally okay. And so trusting my gut and following through on intuition has been huge.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's like firing someone almost too, right? Like firing a friend or firing, it's hard. You hope that the relationship still stays after, but you just never know if people can be big enough to see the bigger, to see that it, isn't always personal. It's just not a good jive. I definitely know, Emma, Meghan and I have never been confrontational at all together, but you were really elegant with your words. I can definitely say we've had a few great conversations that we've seen not eye to eye, but the conversation has been so elegant between, there's never any harshness. So I think a lesson to be learned always from you is how to confront people eloquently, because you do that very well. So,
well, I do. I primarily would try to be kind. That's kind of you.
Well, Emma's such a badass too, and if you knew her dad, you'd be like, oh yeah.
But it's such a good balance. I've only, Meghan and I have only hung out the Shameless Ambition weekend of the conference. And obviously Em and I have hung out a little bit more outside of that, but you both are such a great balance between each other from what I've seen in your strengths and your weaknesses, and just even your personality and your characteristics. You balance each other in such a beautiful way. But let's not be naive. I'm sure there's been bumps, right? Of trying to figure out how to manage each other and to hold each other accountable, but still give each other grace. I know you have things going on in your own lives, right? So how do you manage that? The work, holding each other accountable, but also being obviously growing into best friends. How do you manage all of those hats together in, your dynamic?
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah. I joke that Emma is my life partner. We both are happily in relationships of trust and love with other people too, but Emma is there in so many capacities. And I think about it in a way where, you know, some days I might show up with only 70% and I don't really have the energy to keep going, but she's always there to sort of like carry us or pick up the slack. And I feel like we can both do that for each other in a way where, you know, one week you're going through it and you're just not feeling your very best self. And I'm so grateful to have a partner who is as supportive as Emma is, so that we can just carry on, you know, together we'll always bring 100%, 110%. And so it's remarkable. I think that life experience goes so far in this lane, and having both grown up in different households and different livelihoods, our life experience together allows us to really maintain this level of trust with one another, where we can just sort of do what we need to do and focus on what's important for us in those moments of our lives.
I met Meghan before I was married and before I had kids. And so she's watched me grow up in so many different lanes, but really professionally, Meghan's been there to kind of be by my side throughout that entire experience. And so she shows up every single day to support me as well. Genuinely, our level of support for each other is just so huge. We consistently have each other's backs. This past year, I faced quite a few health challenges. Meghan in the past has also faced health challenges. We've always given each other space to take on what we're capable of, what we can do, and the other one will pick up where the other has left off. We write a lot down. We have status meetings to try to keep ourselves organized. We absolutely hold each other accountable in the sense of consistently talking about what we have on the docket, what we have on the go. We set up bi-weekly meetings with our clients. We set up monthly meetings with our accountant. We just try to keep ourselves as organized as possible because there are quite a few different moving parts.
It's so true. And honestly, even with all of that, we still make mistakes, as you do.
Oh, yeah.
It's the easiest way to learn, and it's the best way to learn, in my opinion. You know, together we're both able to make mistakes and share in the learning. And so I think that just remembering that everyone makes them and that they're the things that propel you forward it makes it easy for us to sort of maintain a relationship. Not one single one of us is doing it right all of the time.
I have a good story, actually. I'm going to tell a quick story. So this was probably about 3 weeks ago. It's Friday. We typically don't book that many meetings on Friday because, to be honest with you, it's Friday. My kids get out of school every single Friday for early dismissal. It's just so great. But ultimately, I have this really sort of sacred period of time in the morning where I can either work or I can, get the couple of things done that need to be done before the kids get home. And for some reason on this particular Friday, I woke up and I was like, oh yeah, my schedule just feels wide open and I can just set sail out into Airdrie to go visit my brother really quickly and have a coffee. And meanwhile, Megan's texting me about outfits. And I'm like, why is she texting me about outfits right now? Like, whatever, you look great. Lo and behold, I just completely missed this meeting that I'm supposed to be a part of. Just don't show up at all. And I just truthfully, that's the first time in 4 years that I've done that. And so I was embarrassed. I was worried. I had all the emotions. Luckily, Meghan just carried that one like a boss for me and just handled it and was like, oh, I'm sure she's just doing whatever she's doing, and just ran the meeting, no problem. But I was quite taken back that I had screwed up that. I was like, holy cow, like I never do that. Usually I'm like fairly organized. I'm on top of my calendar and my schedule. And this particular client was not impressed that this had happened. And they certainly let me hear that one, which was totally fair and merited. But that one was a bit of a hard pill to swallow because it was just a hard lesson to learn. But thankfully, Meghan was there to just support me and run that meeting. And now I check my calendar about 6 times every morning to make sure I've got it right.
We schedule everything.
It happens, right? And like, I think that in business, owning your own business at whatever capacity it is, you fail 10 times before you succeed once. And it's that tenacity that makes an entrepreneur, because lots of people quit when they fail the 6th, 7th, time. They don't realize that they just have to keep failing forward essentially until they succeed. It takes a special breed. So I'm glad you found each other and that you both believe in that wholeheartedly and don't take them too hard.
Failing, I have probably pitched Emma hundreds of business ideas over the years. hundreds, no joke, of like, Emma, we should go into business and do this. Yeah, okay, Lindsay. And then when she told me that you two were going into business together, Meghan, it was like I had this knowing acceptance in my heart that like, yeah, this is Emma's partner. This is her life partner. This is her business partner. This is her person. Because Emma and I are so similar that I don't know that we would offset each other in the right way that a partnership should, you know what I mean? And we know that about each other, which I think is
It's
beautiful.
just like you ladies. It's the same thing. You're yin and it's yin and yang. I feel very similar.
Yeah, Emma and I have the same
Yeah.
birthday. We're born on
Yeah.
the same day. We have big Leo energy. And
Yes.
when you put two lions in a cave, it might not
Only one comes out.
only one comes out.
Only one comes out.
No, but in all honesty, you two have made partnerships, your partnership specifically, look I don't want to say easy, but achievable and authentic, and something that really sets an example for other women to seek out a partner, to not do it alone, because business is overwhelming and there's so much to figure out. And yeah, nurturing the relationship is worth it. And I know that you two do a lot of really cool things to nurture your relationship outside of the business. And so can you share a few of the things that you do to strengthen not only your partnership, but also that foundational friendship?
Yeah, we have epic board meetings in the mountains when it snows 30 cents.
Yeah. She's not wrong. We both are very passionate about being outdoors, whether that's snowboarding, biking, hiking, camping, and we'll chase it. It's important that we make time for the things that we love because it's who we are. It makes us our best at work. It makes us our best for our families and our friends. And so it's super important, I think, to both of us to prioritize that. And you never know when inspiration is going to hit.
Yeah.
It could be at the top of a mountain. And so why the heck wouldn't we go there?
I think that's so great because you get to disconnect too. Like there's no better place to disconnect than on a hike or strapping on your boards or whatever it is. You might have your phone playing music, but you're not really plugged in, right? So you can have the freedom to
Oh, we'll bring laptops like in the computer and I'll drive and Meghan will type.
It's so true. Yeah, there's work happening before we strap in.
Yeah. But still, like it's great. I think it's so good. Like I think of off topic, but I think of my husband and his business partner, and they don't have anything in common. So they don't like hang out and do that bonding together. The only thing they have in common is the business. And so I think that's what makes the both of you and 48th so strong, is that you guys really have like a solid foundation together.
Yeah. We also really respect each other's weekends and personal time. And so although it definitely comes across that way, which we're incredibly close. Like Meghan said, we're each other's life partners. But we also really respect our boundaries. We really respect our family time on the weekends. We also respect that we have completely different sets of friends. We have outside worlds that aren't necessarily combined, and we really respect that. And so I think that allows us to both walk away and breathe and, get to rejuvenate and come back to the table.
Well, and let's talk about some of the awesome shit you guys have done together. Like, I don't even know where to start, because you guys were at the Taylor Swift concert when it caused an earthquake. You guys Whistler and met Chelsea Handler. You guys presented to clients.
Which is a good example. We had the laptop with us driving in the car to Whistler when we met Chelsea Handler. So, I mean, we were working and being awesome. We're very good at combining those two.
Yeah. I think this is something that makes it so easy for us to do what we do, is that the joy of life is so important, and the flexibility in our schedules to be able to have these moments, heading to Whistler, meeting Chelsea. That was totally a fluke, by the way.
Yeah.
We're sitting at Après and I'm like, that woman looks awfully familiar. Should we go say hi? And that's also the best part about
Meghan
Emma.
didn't even wait. Meghan just went and said hi.
Absolutely. Let's go. And so
you're not great at confrontation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess confrontation when the conversation is tough, if straight up a fangirl, no problem. I'll put myself in that situation. Oh, you want a picture with us? Perfect. We're 48. Oh, you didn't know? Well, here we are.
I got that photo that day and just about died. I was so pumped. Girls, I've read all her books. I'm such a mega fan. And like, I just love that you have these kind of cool stories in your journey. Like you guys have done so much cool stuff.
Yeah, and thank you. When we were in Seattle for T Swift, we actually had gone to a baseball game the night prior to that because the Vancouver team was it Vancouver? I don't even know.
Toronto.
Who was playing, who was in the sports game that we
Canada's
were at?
team.
Canada was playing. Anyways, we showed up and there were just all these Canadian fans, and that was a pretty wild and crazy experience at the same time, just to be in an American ball stadium with the one Canadian team kicking their ass. So that was a cool experience. But the earthquake at T Swift, I remember thinking like the stadium, there was about 70,000 people in the stadium. I'd never been to a concert that large in my life. And the stadium's like vibrating. And I'm thinking to myself, like, is this my Lyme disease? Like, is it me? Am I having some out of body experience? What's happening right now? And we just said nothing because we were rocking out. And I was kind of like, well, if the ship goes down, we're going down having a great time. And so we didn't even like flinch while this was happening. And at the end, I said to Meghan, I was like, did you feel that? She's like, yeah.
I had no idea until I saw the news the next day, but I was like, I guess 70,000 people can shake a concrete stadium. I didn't think it was possible, but we did it, not having any idea.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. When did you two discover that you were mutually Taylor Swift's biggest fans?
Early days. I would say
it might have been, I think, when Reputation came out. Emma was fresh back from her mat leave, and it was just like on in the office, and there was nothing else on in the office.
Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry to the lone male.
Yeah.
We're not sorry. I don't know.
Not sorry.
I think they're
not sorry.
lyrics right now. We just
Maybe.
don't know it.
Do you guys communicate in Taylor Swift lyrics?
Yeah. Yes.
Well, Reputation's her album. Reputation was like a huge fuck you album. It was her version of coming out after sort of having her tiara ripped off her head, and I just resonated with that. And at the time, coming back into the corporate space, taking mat leave in the corporate space was challenging for me. I think I came back in about 10 months after my second baby, Andy, was born. Anyhow, back in the groove. You just got to fly back into it. You basically just have to hit the ground running. There's absolutely no time to take a breather. You're in it to win it again. And I just thought we pumped that album to pump us up. So yeah.
I've said time and time again, no matter if you like her music or you don't, you cannot deny the sensation that woman is. Like what she's done with her life and the career she's made for herself. Whether you like her music or not, you have to at least respect.
Oh, you got to respect Taylor
that
Swift.
about her. Like, yeah, it's crazy. I do like her music though.
I love her entrepreneurship. She's such a bossy businesswoman though. So like she makes just such intentional, clear moves that I just resonate with. I think that's so awesome that she has that, like her strategic marketing is just wild. The amount of UGC she creates from planting like Easter eggs online and just having all of this free content speculation from her fans, the Swifties, is just crazy. It's just become this whole phenomenon. So it's interesting to watch, to be honest, as a business owner, as a marketing professional. It's interesting to watch. Yeah.
Well, and I love that you went there with it, Emma, because like that's really more where my respect for Taylor Swift comes from. Is like I do love her music. I haven't invested hours of my life into all of her albums. Next time
you don't start the morning with her album.
But I think that there's so many lessons to be learned from what she's doing if you're paying attention and you're picking up on like, holy man, like that was marketing genius. How can we kind of like put our spin on that? And so what are some of the things about her as an entrepreneur that you women are paying attention to and that you feel inspired by?
Truthfully, I do think her marketing strategy recently has been one that's really struck me, because she's consistently masterminding all of her videos are intentional. Her lyrics are intentional. She sort of plants little hints for the future. The dress she wore to the Grammys was intentional. It really resonated with her album that was coming out. You know, she's doing this while she's showing the #2 while she's receiving her Grammy, and then she launches a double album. Like she's consistently sort of just putting out these small hints and allowing her fans to truly come to the table and strategize and speculate. And she just kind of sits back and watches it all happen. And I think that's been an incredible.
Oh,
Sorry.
No, I was like, even if she doesn't mean a hint, I've just like coming on
Oh,
to
it's intentional.
TikTok to watch the
I
people
think, and I
rabbit.
think that's the word. It's intention. And I think that's what's so inspiring about her. I think a lot of people in business do things because they think they're the right reason, or they heard someone else was doing it, so they have to do it too. But if you're not doing the things that are intentional to you in your business, like, why are you doing them, kind of thing. I think it's super important to sort of have those values and understand your why behind what you're doing. And she clearly has that.
That's amazing. So would that be in line with the advice that, you know, if women approached you guys and said, hey, I want to start a business, what would you say to them? Would be intentional be a part of that? Or would you kind of layer on top of that? What advice would you give?
I think that
Yeah.
foundation of trust is so important. It goes so deep. I want to tell everyone to start a business and jump in with both feet and do it. But I think that you have to understand that you have to have similar values and shared goals so that you can work on them together. If you're both after a different thing, it might not work. The thing has to be sort of similar in that if it's a lifestyle you're chasing, or a paycheck you're chasing, or a clientele that you're chasing, going after that with sort of the same intention or the same value to have a similar outcome is really important.
Yeah, I would say that communication is key. And part of the reason Meghan and I refer to each other as life partners now is because there's nowhere to hide. Like, you jump into a business with a partner and you're in it together, and all of a sudden you're spending copious amounts of time together. You're facing challenges together. There's highs and lows that you're experiencing together, and you really are sort of responsible to carry each other through. And so communication is large. If you are open and clear and kind and calm, I think that you will have a ton of success together. And then some of the best advice I received in the beginning days, and we've carried this through into a few different opportunities Meghan and I have done recently, but plan the breakup first. Really, although that sounds a little morbid, it's really important when you're jumping into business and there's finances involved, or there's households involved, and there's, you know, all these different moving parts. Be intentional with your partnership agreement. Plan the breakup first so that you can, you know, have a clear picture of what that would look like if something were to go the wrong way. And we have done that. It was one of the first things we did, was legally put together a partnership agreement, and have since done that in other areas and opportunities that we've partnered up with. So I would say plan the breakup first, communication is key, and create a very clear business plan.
Those are excellent tips.
Absolutely agree. I think it's wrong to go into business with a friend because they're your friend. And all of the things that Emma is saying are so important to set up the foundation to any partnership, regardless if they're your friend, another woman. It just has to be intentional, and having those plans in place really makes it a lot easier.
Well, and that's so true. Like, it's just that protection for the what if scenario. And it's not morbid at all, Emma. I sold life insurance for years. You're all gonna die. So,
Right.
So surprise.
surprise. But I think that concept of planning the breakup, planning for the what if, the unforeseen, having those hard conversations up front is so valuable, and something that we've been aligned on in moving forward in our partnership, and ensuring that we stay on top of communication. And, you know, the biggest issue I have to deal with Justine is that she always has dreams about us fighting, and it makes her really sad. Like,
It's like all my insecurities come out when I sleep. So it's,
and then we have to
fine.
talk about them, but that's okay. We move through them.
I think that's one of the best parts, though, in partnership, and it's being able to communicate with each other, even when weird things come up. Or I'll admit too, you know, you have a weird dream, you're like, what does this mean, and are we okay?
Trying to say something to me and I just don't know.
Exactly.
Meghan, you said something earlier, and it's the most beautiful thing. Lindsay and I have talked about it. But it's when you show up 70%, Emma always brings the other 30, you know, out of your 100 or whatever. And Lindsay and I've heard it originally from Brene Brown, I think is where I originally heard it. And Lindsay and I have talked about it, and there's so many days I'll text her and be like, I got 20%. Like, that's sorry, but that's what I can give you today. And she's like, great, I'll make up the 80. Like, you know,
That's real life. That's,
It
you don't wake up and decide I'm 100% every day. Like, that is totally unrealistic.
yeah. But I think it's finding that person you can be vulnerable with, right? And shameless with about your feelings. And that's a tough thing to do, is to be vulnerable and shameless with other women it's just hard. Like, I mean, anybody in general.
Get into partnership with someone. You don't have a choice but to be vulnerable and shameless. They get to know you real quick, real fast.
Or it doesn't work, right? Because then it's like, what's
Yeah.
happening? So, yeah.
Which is again why you go back to planning the breakup. Like, you have an exit strategy. You know what happens if things are not going the way you imagined them to.
Yeah, I agree.
Have you guys ever had a big fight in your partnership where like you didn't talk to each other for a few days?
No.
No,
Good for you.
no.
Way to be
I
so-
mean, it's so funny. We're all women here. We all have special times of the month. We're a little bit more irritable than others. And it's like, we just know this about each other now. It's like, we know when we need space. And Emma sort of touched on it earlier. Like, there are times in our days and our weeks and our months where we just respect each other's space. We have families and other friends, and it means so much to just take a step back sometimes and enjoy that and embrace it.
Yeah, that's so beautiful that you girls are able to do that for each other. And
We've definitely had moments of tension, and we've definitely had really hard conversations, and we've definitely had to take breaks throughout the day, but we haven't ever hit a period where there's been days without communication.
well, and I just think that speaks volumes to your dedication to each other and to your commitment to this partnership. And, you know, the reason I ask is because like women can be unpredictable, women can be stubborn, women can be so many things that
Passive aggressive. Let's
passive,
throw it.
all these things, right? And I think that there's so much value in a partnership of two women, but I also think that because of how our brains operate and the frequency at which we think, we have to deal with more, which can kind of put us at more of a risk because we do communicate more with our thoughts and our feelings and our emotions. And so it's just so great that you guys have such a high level of respect for each other.
You
And
know,
Meghan is such a badass in this field, to be honest with you, because I've got 2 kids and a wild household at times that just moves at a different pace or in different schedules, different timelines throughout the day than hers does. And she's always been so respectful of that in my world, which has been huge.
thank you. I love your kids. I love your family. And more importantly, I love the snacks. So I'm here for it all.
Always.
Yeah.
Always good.
Yeah. I think it's safe to say like you guys have created a safe space for each other, not only in life, but in business. And I think that is pivotal, obviously, moving forward. And you said you were expanding things. And
Yeah.
maybe Lynsey knows and not just didn't tell me, but that's okay. But do you want to share a little bit about like what, if not, that's totally fine. If you're not ready to share about it. Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't shared, we've got one deal that's sort of going through the legal process right now. And so we haven't really publicly shared what that is, but I'm sure Lynsey knows, to be honest with you, but Meghan and I are just moving some of our funds into investment opportunities just to continue some, passive income in projects and areas that we're passionate about, that maybe we've shared history on. And beyond that, we're consistently coming up with sort of, new and interesting ideas and the amount of new businesses that Meghan and I have discussed launching, and then kind of taken a step back and gone, okay, how or where are we going to fit this in with just the two of us? We have taken on support within 48. We have one gal, Jess, who has been with us for over a year now, and she's been incredible for our team. She effectively runs a lane of our business for us now, which has just been huge when it comes to resource time, off of our plate. So that's been incredible. And she's been, I can't say enough good things about her, but that allows us the opportunity to then go, okay, now what are we going to do with some of this space and time? And so we've talked about the merch line openly. The merch line is going to be a bit of a spin on working from home and some of the shared experiences that we've had. And it's really going to be a sarcastic play on that whole situation. And what isn't necessarily going to be front client facing to our world in 48. We will separate the two because it's going to be sassy and badassy. And so we'll separate that a little bit, but that's coming soon.
I'm never sure. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So.
I was going to say, I'm never sure which swear words offend people. And so we keep it pretty clean at 48, although we are ourselves for sure. But this is just kind of a place where we can authentically, really, truly be us and share with the world how hilarious we think we are.
Oh, girlfriends, you are in the shameless era.
Yeah.
Good for you. And I'm like, hey, can we collab? Like work from home in the Shameless Era? Like,
You know what? We are here for
Fuck yeah, we can.
collaboration all of the time. I think that that's where so much growth happens, and you never know what is possible when you team up with others.
I think it's just so great. You guys are continuing to grow, right? I think that when you say stagnant in your business, bad things can happen. Not necessarily always, but it's lots of staleness, right? So to continue that growth and pushing forward and to keep following new dreams is so great. I'm glad
I
that you
think it's a part of marketing too. There's never a dull moment. There's always a new trend. There's always something different happening, and it can feel wildly overwhelming to keep up with it all. But I think that if you are just being honest with yourself and truly doing what inspires you, the best comes from that place. And we just are full of never-ending ideas. And so to be able to execute on them in a way that supports us financially, perhaps, or allows us to sort of scratch that itch just because we're feeling creative and inspired, and it's not something that we can maybe do for the clients we have at 48. Like, how can we apply that in a different area of our lives?
so cool. So with the stay at home, like on the subject, and you guys working from home for now, like what, 5 years? 4 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it's probably been a work in progress and you've, figured out different techniques along the way, but if you wouldn't mind sharing how you guys keep that balance of having your work at home, but having your family at home as well, and how you draw that line. Like, do you have a separate room, and when it's family time, never walk in that room, or like, what does that look like?
No, it's messy.
Yeah, messy, good word for it. I'm surprised my dog hasn't barked during this conversation, or that Emma's kids haven't showed up on the screen. I kids are at school, but it's a challenge to sometimes have everything going on. I feel this, and Emma and I actually, I think, really prioritize this now, is meeting up outside of our homes to do work together, because it sort of reinvigorates us. It allows us to be inspired. It allows us to focus on our own business and the work we want to do versus maybe client work or the other things that fill up our calendar day to day.
Yeah, in all seriousness, we're really intentional with our time. Like I try to be really intentional with the time that is, devoted to my family getting out the door in the morning, and then the time that I have allocated to work throughout the day, and then the time where I switch back to my family. And if it requires me to switch back to work after that, I do, and I will. And I really appreciate the flexibility and the ebbs and flows that come with that freedom and flexibility, because I feel like I can do it all. I feel like I can be a mom and a wife and an entrepreneur. And I feel like I can be a friend. And, although sometimes I suck at calling my friends all the time, I still feel like I can show up. I would come if any of them called. But truly, I just feel like I'm intentional with my schedule, intentional with my time. And it's not always pretty. There's messy days. Some of it, shit hits the fan. That's just very real. But
I do wear my robe while I check emails. That is a thing. And that's the blessing of working from home.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, and
I did get changed here.
One of my favorite parts about this whole new work from home reality is that I can call Emma on a Monday, go visit her on Wednesday. She and I can sit in her kitchen, crush out some work and some meetings, do our thing. And it's just like that kind of flexibility in life is so valuable, because
I love it.
It's just, you can't always determine when those special moments are going to happen, or when somebody can give you time. And so when you're able to just accommodate and live in the moment, it just feels like a much fuller life.
Totally. I love it. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's why calendars can become so important. Like, we have deadlines and we absolutely meet them, but it doesn't matter if the work got done at 8 p.m. or 8 a.m. Like, we're meeting those deadlines, and we're getting in everything else that matters to us too.
No, that's amazing. And that's just it. Like, even as a sales professional for so many years, it didn't really matter how many hours I logged in the office. It mattered what my sales numbers were at the end of the month, and how I achieved those was really nobody's business, because you don't sell anything in the office. But I think that when we get good at time management like that and really take control of our time, we're able to be so much more present in the moment, because we know we dominated already in the time that we gave to that specific project.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I've learned so much from you during this conversation. I'm like, have all
Well,
these
we're so pumped that you had us on. And if you ever, if we can continue to be more off the cuff, if you ever, want to hone in on a subject, just let us know.
Well,
Oh yeah.
I think there's so many more conversations to be had, and I think so much value that your experience can bring to our listeners. And as we dive into this new era of the Shameless Era,
I'm here for this new era. I'm so excited for you ladies. I know we haven't talked enough about you, and you've been so gracious and kind to ask us a billion questions, but congratulations, because
Thanks.
this is
Yeah, hell yeah.
epic.
You know what? It's not about us though, like that's why we're having guests this season. That's why we're opening up the conversation. We spent like 2 whole seasons talking about us. So
Yeah, we were like, oh, what should we talk about today? And we're like, us again.
Us again? But no, honestly, I thought you girls would love the Play on the Eras tour. I thought of you.
Oh, yeah.
and-
I have a quote from Taylor Swift.
Yeah, I hope more
Don't you
people
worry.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we're getting up on the hour here, and part of our new program is that we ask our guests to bring a quote to close out the podcast, leave our listeners with some words of wisdom. You ladies have dropped some serious words of wisdom on this hour-long episode. So what would you like to share with the listeners that's a favorite quote or words to live by?
Okay, we each have one. Is that okay?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Emma,
Okay.
send it.
You want me to go? Okay, naturally mine's Taylor Swift. We're in the Eras. I'm in
Love
the
it.
Eras tour. I feel like I'm on the Eras tour 2.0 here. So I condensed this quote, but I'm just going to read it. So Taylor Swift says, mistakes will cause you to lose things, but losing things doesn't just mean losing. A lot of the time when we lose things, we gain things too. Life can be heavy, especially if you try to carry it all at once. But growing up and moving into new chapters of your life is about catch and release. You can't carry all things. Decides what is yours to hold and what is yours to release. You can't carry all things. Oftentimes, the good things in your life are lighter anyways, so there's more room for them. Never be ashamed of trying.
Aw, that was so good.
Loved it.
What song is that from, Emma?
It's from a graduation speech that she gave. It's not a song. It's actually yeah.
Amazing.
Release.
Yeah.
But if you ever want me to quote a song too, I mean, heck, let me know. But no, that was actually from a genuine a ceremony speech she gave in New York at a university.
Oh, I love that. Next time we get to do karaoke together, I'll get a nice clip of us doing T Swift. So
Yeah,
I
it's
love it.
actually a challenge these days to not pair every reel or piece of social content we make with a Taylor Swift track. I'm like, should I pick something else?
I just keep sending them to Lynsey and she doesn't respond, but I'm just like, look at this one, look at this one.
I literally showed Mike my phone the other day and I was like, babe, somebody might have to have a chat with Emma. And I'm just like,
No, I'm gonna keep them coming.
keep sending them. Love them, babe, because you are my inlet to the T Swift fan club. So
I'm going to shout out a fellow by the name of James Clear. He is the author of Atomic Habits, and it's a book that a lot of entrepreneurs tend to read, especially as they're launching business. But his weekly newsletter is actually one of my most favorites to receive. It is 3 thoughts from him, 2 thoughts from others, and 1 question. And it always brings to me new ideas, or they're not questions I often ask myself. So it really sort of is a reflective space for me to be in. And this quote for me is something that really sort of correlates to some of the challenges I've faced in business, especially as it is confronting people and subjects and ideas. James Clear says, early feedback is usually better than late criticism. Delaying the conversation or stringing someone along with indirect feedback won't make them feel better once the real issue is finally addressed. Nobody likes getting bad news, but everyone appreciates clarity.
oh, that's so true. Excellent choice, girlfriend. Atomic Habits is a must read for everyone in business. And I remember feeling a profound sense of change when I read that book. I think I did a whole book review on it actually.
I won it at Shameless Ambition, the conference.
And have you read
Oh, cool.
I'm bad. I need to read. Like I am definitely the person who like would rather watch junk reality TV than read a book. And I'm gonna be just straight up about that, but I need to.
Hey, at least you're honest.
You'll enjoy it when you get to it.
Yeah, right.
Well, and thanks to yours and Emma's thorough overview of Vanderpump Rules on my deck last September, I had never even heard of Vanderpump at that time.
See, Justine, we're doing good.
Right? Exactly. The two of you for about 2 hours talking about Vanderpump literally changed my life because I binged all 10 seasons right before I went to LA and got to go to anyways, reality TV has its place too, girlfriend.
Yeah, it
So,
does. Yeah.
It totally does. I'm a sucker.
Emma and Meghan, thank you so much for joining us on the Shameless Era today. Quickly, before we let you go, can you let our listeners know where they can find you, how they can contact you, anything that you'd like them to know about how to get in touch?
We are on all the socials at 48th Media Co. And you can email us hello@48thmediaco.ca. We're always online, so you can catch us there.
Virtually anywhere and everywhere.
Virtually anywhere you need to be.
Exactly. Girlfriends, well,
Thank you for having us. We really appreciate you ladies inviting us into the podcast, and we really appreciate this opportunity. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Justine. Thank you, Lynsey.
you both are true champions for women, and it was an honor to have you here today. And we're looking forward to so many more creative, collaborative conversations down the road. So thank you so much, girlfriends. Have a great day.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye to you.